Hi, it's Anya from Yoga Embodied. This is a female pelvis, a life size, and I wanted to show it to you just so you have an idea of what the pelvic floor is and why it's so important for us to engage and become aware of the different parts of the pelvic floor. So aside from the pelvic floor muscles, which you can see here, and also inside, we'll go inside as well. We obviously have muscles around here, so when we practice and want to stabilize our pelvis, it's important to work with the buttocks, the glutes, even the hamstrings, which are attached to the sitting bones down here, the hip flexors, the psoas. So really we need that holistic view when we work with the pelvis and the pelvic floor. But just about the pelvic floor, I often talk about a diamond shape. And we can think, if this is how we sit down, so this is how the pelvis is when we sit down. Sitting bones are here, hips are here, like when we hold on the hips, that's this, and then obviously part of the spine. But I often talk about this diamond shape of muscles, which is from the pubic bones, which are here. They are connected with a ligament, which is just between. So this is the pubic symphysis. And then I talk about the sitting bones, which are here on either side. And then the tailbone, which goes down here at the coccyx. So this is that diamond shape of muscles that I often talk about when we talk about the pelvic floor, because that's kind of the shape it is. So you can work with the pelvic floor and literally just think of this diamond shape drawing in and releasing out. And the muscles here will in fact do that just with your movement. So like now I'm leaning forward, my sitting bones are stretching back, which means the sitting bones will actually move apart and the tailbone will lift. So that way my pelvic floor muscles will stretch. And on the other hand, if you're lying on your back like this, your pelvic floor muscles would contract a little bit. So we can work just with that awareness, opening and coming back in again. But we also need to be aware that there are different areas. So very simply, we can think about the anal sphincter muscles, so the muscles around here. We can engage and we can relax. And they're common because it's a sensation. You have to pass wind, you try to hold it. So these are the muscles you try to hold even inside. And then you can finally relax as if you're passing wind. So that's one part of the muscles, which is quite easy to engage, which is a super strong muscle. And you can even see here, this is the first layer, but even here, deeper inside, there's another layer. There are 3 layers of muscles of the pelvic floor, super strong muscles as well, quite often tight muscles. Then we can go all the way up towards the front, there. So around the clitoris and the urinary tract. And again, we have muscles that support us with, if we have to go to the loo, urinate, we'll try to hold it until we can go and then we can relax. So those muscles we can separate quite easily as well. So you can see there's still, muscles here, there are muscles here. It is like, sometimes like, sort of an 8, the shape of an 8. And then for women, obviously, we have the vaginal canal, and the same thing, the vaginal canal, we can engage and we can relax. You could even think of this juncture that's just here, the perineum, again is a place that we can work with. And you can in fact see that if you had a mirror or even if you're just resting your hand on your pelvis, you can feel this area just with your breath. You can, when you breathe in, it stretches. When you exhale, it contracts a bit, because that's the way our breath moves. But if you look closely, you can see there's different layers of the pelvic floor. There's that outer layer, there's a deeper layer inside. And if we look inside the pelvis, so again, this is a female pelvis, and this might also be interesting if you're pregnant, but not necessarily. But just to notice how much the pelvic floor is actually holding. This is the uterus. So obviously if you're pregnant, it's much bigger. The fallopian tubes, and we have the ovaries kind of in there as well. that's sitting on top of the bladder. But this is again muscles that excuse me, the pelvic floor has to hold. So again, here we have the uterus like that, and this is the vaginal canal, which is also made of muscles. So you can, again, you can either use like a yoni egg, LV, finger your partner, and you can really think of engaging and relaxing the pelvic floor and the 3 layers of the pelvic floor. Sometimes we talk about 3 knuckles. So this is the first layer, the second layer, and the third layer. So this is not scientific, but it's a good way of kind of imagining the layers of the pelvic floor, but there are 3 layers of the pelvic floor. So that was the vaginal canal, the uterus, the fallopian tubes, and the ovaries. And so on top of that, that would lie on top of the rectum here, and on top of the bladder here as well. So even if you look inside, these are different layers from what you can see here. Inside we also have layers of the pelvic floor, and you can see just about the outlet just here. That's the anus and the vaginal canal at the front, and the tiny opening at the very front. I don't know if you can see. Not quite. You can see the vaginal canal opening, and in front the urinary tract. But these are amazing muscles, and we kind of need to focus on all of them when we work with the pelvic floor. So when you practice the pelvic floor, think of that whole diamond shape. Think of the front, the urinary tract. Think of the back around the anus. Think about the middle part around the vaginal canal. And think about the 3 layers of the pelvic floor, especially when you work with the vaginal canal, so that you move all the different muscles. So that's a little bit of anatomy for you. And if you want to learn more, let me know. If you have specific questions, send me a message. And just another little plug in for the Sacred Pelvis course. So if you love everything about the pelvis, then you can go to sacredpelvis.com, which is an online course about the pelvis and the area around the pelvis, also working through yoga with the muscles around the pelvis and pelvic floor practices. And otherwise, all my details are on yogaembodied.com. Thank you for watching. Bye.